Hello everyone, I hope you're having a wonderful day. Today, we're going to explore a New Year's Eve that changes everything. Tuna asks Alex to watch the fireworks as a real family, and under the exploding sky, she finally says the words she's been holding back. Then Alex makes a promise that will tie their hearts together forever. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to subscribe so you won't miss the next videos. Warm, golden light from red lanterns filled the small room, and Henry's giggles bounced off the wooden walls like little sparks. Tuna sat on the rug with him in her lap, swaying gently while she kept stealing glances at the clock. Midnight was getting closer. Outside, the village was already humming distant voices, and the low rumble of fireworks being tested far away. Alex stood near the window with a glass of wine in his hand, watching them as if the scene might disappear if he blinked. He still couldn't get used to how natural it felt to be here. Not in a fancy high-rise, not surrounded by business partners or meetings, just a small room, a sleepy child, and a woman whose warmth made everything softer. Henry stretched one chubby arm toward him, fingers opening and closing in that stubborn way babies had when they wanted something. "Da!" Henry babbled, grabbing Alex's finger the moment he came closer, tugging like he was giving an order. Tuna laughed quietly. "He's calling you." Alex gave in, lowering himself to sit beside them. Henry immediately leaned toward him, satisfied, still holding tight. Tuna's hand rested on Alex's shoulder, just a small touch, light as a feather, but it sent a shock through his chest. It wasn't dramatic, it was simple, and that was exactly why it felt so powerful. From somewhere outside, fireworks rumbled again, deeper this time, like the sky was clearing its throat. Tuna leaned close to Henry and whispered, "Sweetheart, the new year is coming. We're going to have so much joy ahead." Alex looked at her, and something warm stirred inside him, something he thought he'd lost years ago. This night wasn't only about the calendar changing, it was the moment he realized he didn't want to stand outside her life anymore, watching from a distance. He wanted to belong in it. Henry yawned so wide his eyes watered, then tried to fight sleep with a tiny stubborn frown. Tuna kissed his forehead, and Alex watched the tenderness in her face. When she lifted her eyes to Alex, they held for a second. No words, just a quiet understanding that felt heavier than any speech. The clock crept forward. As it reached 11, Tuna suddenly stood up, eyes shining like she'd turned into a different version of herself, lighter, younger, full of anticipation. She crossed the room and pulled the curtain aside, letting street light and the glow of distant fireworks spill in. "Henry, do you hear that?" she whispered excitedly. "The fireworks are about to start." Alex stood behind her, smiling as he watched her glow. Most days, Tuna carried life like a heavy basket, strong, steady, but always aware of the weight. Tonight, she looked unburdened. Just joy. She turned around fast, reached out, and grabbed Alex's hand like she didn't want him even one step away. "Will you come watch the fireworks with me?" she asked. Her voice was gentle, but the longing underneath it was unmistakable. "I want our whole family to see them together." The word family landed in Alex's chest like a bell. Henry stirred in Tuna's arms, as if sensing the excitement in her voice. Alex nodded before his mind could overthink it. "Let's go," he said. Tuna's smile widened, and she hugged Henry closer. "Mum promises to give you a truly beautiful new year," she whispered to the baby. But when she looked at Alex, the promise stretched to him too, without needing to be spoken. She laid Henry in the crib for a moment, tucking the blanket around him with careful hands. Then she turned back to Alex, and the joy in her eyes mixed with something deeper, quiet determination, like she'd waited for this kind of night for a long time. "Alex," she said softly, "I don't want to just watch fireworks. I want to be together, like a real family." Alex's throat tightened. He didn't answer with a grand speech. He just reached for her hand, warm, steady, and squeezed. "I'm with you," he said, "tonight and after tonight." Tuna blinked fast, tears gathering but not falling. She lifted Henry again, bundling him in a warm coat, and holding him close. Alex picked up her scarf and wrapped it around her neck with gentle fingers. The gesture made her inhale sharply, like her heart had forgotten how to handle kindness. "Let's go," Tuna whispered, "before the fireworks begin." They stepped out into the hallway, their footsteps sinking without trying. Alex's hand brushed the center of Tuna's back, a protective touch that felt natural. For years, Tuna had walked through life like she was carrying everything alone. Tonight, she wasn't. When they opened the building door, cold air rushed in. It smelled like winter wind, faint magnolia, and gunpowder from firecrackers. Tuna drew a deep breath, then turned to Alex with a small, grateful smile. "Thank you for saying yes." Alex didn't answer with words. His eyes did it for him. Outside, the streets were alive. Red lanterns hung along the sidewalks, and neon lights splashed color across smiling faces. People moved in groups, laughing, calling out greetings, taking photos. It was loud and bright. But inside the small circle around Tuna, Henry, and Alex, it felt strangely calm. Tuna held Henry tighter as the wind cut through, and Alex shifted to walk on the side closest to the street, shielding them from the rush of the crowd. They weaved through the people, moving slowly, careful with Henry's sleeping head against Tuna's shoulder. Tuna looked up at the lanterns and the glowing signs, then down at Henry, then at Alex. Her smile turned soft. "I never thought I'd have a New Year's Eve like this," she admitted. Alex squeezed her hand. "Me neither," he said honestly. As they walked, Alex found himself talking quietly, like he was confessing something he'd never said out loud. "Most years," he told her, "I watched fireworks through glass, alone. From an office. I told myself it didn't matter." Tuna's eyes softened. She didn't pity him. She simply listened. Then she said, "From now on, you won't have to watch alone." Those words hit Alex harder than the cold wind. They were simple, but they felt like medicine. They stopped at a small stall for a moment. Tuna bought a glowing candy stick, bright colors pulsing softly. She waved it gently near Henry's face to see if he'd react. Henry's eyes fluttered open, confused for a second. Then he stared at the light with a tiny gasp before drifting back to sleep. Tuna laughed under her breath, and the colored glow painted her face, making her look almost like a girl again. Alex watched her and felt his heart pound. This wasn't just a night out. It was the beginning of something he'd been craving without admitting it. Ahead, the central square grew louder. Music swelled from speakers, and the crowd's energy rose like a wave. Tuna tightened her grip on Alex's hand. "We're almost there," she whispered. They pushed forward until they found a small spot by a railing enough space for Henry to stay undisturbed. The sky above them was dark and waiting. Tuna's breathing quickened. Alex felt her heartbeat through their joined hands. He turned slightly, watching her face instead of the sky, and realized he wanted to remember this expression forever, the mixture of excitement, hope, and love that made her look unstoppable. The countdown began for real, and the crowd's voices rose together. 10, 9, 8. The crowd's chanting grew louder, rolling through the square like a single heartbeat. 10, 9, 8. Tuna gripped Alex's hand tighter, her breath coming quicker. Henry slept against her chest, warm and heavy, completely unaware that the whole world around him was holding its breath. Alex shifted closer, angling his body to shield Henry from the cold wind and the press of strangers. 7, 6, 5. Tuna tilted her head back, eyes fixed on the empty black sky. Her expression looked almost unreal, like a child who still believed in wonders, and a woman who had fought too long to finally let herself feel joy. 4, 3, 2. Alex didn't look at the sky. He looked at Tuna. He watched the way her lips parted, the way her shoulders rose with anticipation, and he realized this moment mattered more than any celebration he'd ever attended. 1. The first explosion tore the night open. A burst of crimson spread wide across the sky, followed by gold sparks that rained down like glowing confetti. The square erupted in cheers. More fireworks followed immediately, soft blue blooms, bright white flashes, silver trails twisting like ribbons. The light washed over Tunar's face in shifting colors, red, then gold, then blue. Her eyes filled instantly. Tears spilled down her cheeks without her even noticing, because she wasn't crying from sadness. She was overwhelmed by beauty, by belonging, by the fact that she was standing here with Henry and Alex, not alone, not carrying everything by herself. "It's so beautiful," she whispered, voice breaking. "I've never seen anything this beautiful." Alex lifted a hand and gently wiped a tear from her cheek with his thumb. He didn't say anything right away. He simply pulled her a little closer, keeping Henry tucked safely between them. The fireworks kept blooming. Each blast echoed through Tunar's chest, vibrating through her bones like a promise. The sky became a living canvas, crimson like passion, gold like hope, soft blue like quiet vows. Henry stirred at one especially loud burst, his face scrunching in sleepy protest. Tunar rocked him instinctively, whispering, "It's okay, sweetheart. It's just the sky celebrating." Alex smiled at the tenderness in her voice, then rested his palm lightly on Henry's back, adding his warmth to hers. Henry relaxed again and sank back into sleep, secure in the circle of their bodies. For Alex, the fireworks were almost secondary. The real explosion was inside him, the sudden, undeniable truth that he didn't want to go back to his old life. Not the lonely high-rise, not the cold silence behind glass, not the version of himself that pretended he didn't need anyone. He wanted this. He wanted her. He wanted Henry. He wanted the warmth of a small family, the messy, fragile, precious thing he'd never thought he'd have. When the final volley faded, the sky returned slowly to stillness, smoke drifting like soft shadows across the stars. The crowd cheered again, then began to move, voices dissolving into excited chatter, people hugging, taking photos, calling family members. Tunar stood still for a moment, chest rising and falling, tears still clinging to her lashes. She looked down at Henry, sleeping peacefully, then turned toward Alex fully. The noise around them felt distant now, like it belonged to another world. Her gaze was unwavering, soft, but brave. "Alex," she began, and her voice trembled even though she was trying to keep it steady. "I don't want this night to end without saying it." Alex's heart thudded hard. Tunar swallowed, then spoke the words like she was stepping off a cliff and trusting she wouldn't fall. "I love you," she said simply. "I have for a long time." The confession wasn't dramatic. No rehearsed speech, no fancy lines, just truth, carrying the weight of every lonely day she'd survived and every small kindness he'd shown her and Henry. Alex stared at her for a heartbeat, as if his mind couldn't catch up to what his heart already knew. Then emotions surged up so quickly his throat tightened. He lifted his hand and brushed her cheek gently, as if he needed to make sure she was real. "I love you too," he said, voice low and rough. "I think I loved you the first time I saw you smile at Henry. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't even know if I deserved to be in your life." Tunar's lips trembled into a small smile through tears. "You are in my life," she whispered. "You're here." Alex nodded, his eyes shining. "And I want to stay," he said. "With you, with our child, every day." The world around them shrank until it felt like only the three of them existed. Two adults standing close, one sleeping baby held between them like a blessing. Tunar nodded, tears falling freely now. "Then we'll love each other," she said softly, "truly and forever." Alex lifted her hand to his lips and pressed a kiss to her fingers. "I promise," he murmured. "We'll love each other." They stood like that for a moment under the streetlights, breathing in the cold air that couldn't reach the warmth inside their chests. Henry stirred slightly, making a small sound, then relaxed again, as if approving without waking. Tunar leaned her head against Alex's shoulder, and Alex held her carefully because of Henry. Carefully, because he didn't want to break the fragile beauty of the moment. "Thank you for coming into my life," Tuna whispered. Alex tightened his hold. "Thank you for letting me in," he replied. They began to walk away as the square emptied, the night growing quieter with each step. The lanterns still glowed along the street, and the air smelled of smoke and sweet snacks and winter wind. Then Alex stopped. Tuna turned, confused. "What is it?" Alex reached into his coat pocket. His fingers trembled slightly as he pulled out a small black velvet box. Tuna's eyes widened. "Alex." He didn't speak immediately. He lowered himself onto one knee right there on the pavement, not caring about the few people still passing by. It wasn't the traditional scene of a proposal, yet the solemnity in his posture made it feel more sacred than any staged moment. He opened the box. Inside lay a delicate silver bracelet set with a small blue stone. Under the streetlight, the stone caught the glow and shimmered softly blue, like calm, like hope, like a peaceful sky after fireworks. "Tuna," Alex said, voice thick. "I don't want you to ever doubt where I stand again. This bracelet is my promise." He swallowed hard. "I will stay by your side, by Henry's side, for the rest of my life, never leaving, never giving up." Tuna covered her mouth, and tears fell instantly. Pure happiness, pure disbelief. She extended her wrist with shaking fingers. Alex fastened the bracelet carefully, his hands gentle, almost reverent. When it clicked into place, it looked as if it had always belonged there. Tuna stared at it, then lifted her gaze to him. "I promise too," she whispered. "I will stay with you. I will build a family with you, no matter how hard it gets." Alex stood and pulled her into an embrace that held everything: relief, love, gratitude, the fear of losing it all, and the joy of finally having it. Henry rested between their arms, warm and sleepy. Alex bent and kissed Tuna's forehead, then lowered his face to kiss Henry's hair. "We're a family," he whispered. Tuna nodded, smiling radiantly through tears. "A real family." They stood there under fading streetlights, the new year already begun. The cold wind passed around them, unable to touch the warmth blooming inside. The bracelet glimmered softly, a small but indestructible symbol of the life they were choosing. New Year's Eve was over, but their story of hope, healing, and belonging was only just beginning. On New Year's Eve, Tuna, Alex, and little Henry share a quiet, lantern-lit night at home as midnight approaches. Henry's laughter fills the room, and Alex realizes he no longer wants to stand outside their life. Tuna, glowing with rare joy, asks Alex to go watch the fireworks together as a real family. They bundle Henry warmly and walk through streets lined with red lanterns and neon lights, where Alex admits he once spent New Year's alone behind office glass. At the crowded square, the countdown ends and fireworks explode across the sky, moving Tuna to tears of happiness. Afterward, she finally confesses she loves Alex, and he returns her feelings, promising to stay with her and Henry every day. Before the night ends, Alex kneels and gives her a silver bracelet with a blue stone as a lifelong vow, sealing their family.